Hey guys! Just wanted to say that this is a quick disclaimer saying that this video, as well as all videos on my channel, are not intended towards a younger audience. Despite the fact that I make things from cartoons and video games, does not mean that this channel is intended for a younger audience. 16 on up is my targeted age range. Thanks!
Hello? Hello, hello. Thank you for calling Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Now, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to give out any information whatsoever for the company. However, I can give you out some information on how to make your very own genuine phone guy head. No, you don't have to shove your head into an actual phone. Please don't do that actually. But if you want to learn how to get a phone head yourself without going through pain and agony and suffering, then you clicked on the right video.
Hi. So clearly what you just saw was filmed after I did the whole project. Clearly. However, what you're seeing right now is before I start the project itself. So for a project like this, I couldn't really rack my brain over the shapes that I needed. Like I knew the shapes that I needed, but in my brain I was like, I need to see this up close in person. So what I did was I built a miniature one before we built the big one. It clearly doesn't have all of the extra designs on it or all the details that I'm going to put on the bigger one. That's fine. This is just to give me a little bit of a idea of the shapes that I need. And clearly, I'm going to need two of that, one of that, two of these, and one of that. Now the bottom I'm leaving just open because I know what I'm going to do for the bottom. That's the easiest part. However, for the rest, I needed to figure out what the general shape was going to be. And I do recommend doing this. Anytime you need to build like a big prop, or if you're going to do Phone Guy or anyone else that has like these giant helmets or whatever. I'm not saying Phone Guy's head is a helmet, it's a head. But if you need to build a giant prop or a giant something on your cosplay and you kind of have the idea to do it, but you don't really know how to do it yet, I recommend making a tiny one first. And now that I know exactly what shapes they need to be, I just need to make them bigger. So that's what we're going to do now.
So you're gonna hear me change up my measurements throughout the video because clearly I didn't have the final measurements at the time. This is the final measurement for everything. Aside from the phone part, because that is going to go based off of the base when it's fully built. And you don't even have to use this exact measurements. If you need to make it bigger or smaller to fit your own head or body type, that's completely fine. But at least you know where to start when it comes to measurements and shapes. Something I also did not film myself doing was I measured my shoulder width, which was 19 inches, and I just took off a few inches to make 14 inches, or I'm sorry, 13 inches up front and in the back, and then 14 is on the sides to be how long it is. So measure your shoulders first, and then you'll go from there when it goes to measurements.
So this is what we have so far. After so much cutting and measuring and math, which I'm not good at, you should have two identical pieces that look like this. That one's upside down. The two identical pieces that look like this. Ideally, if it has plastic on one side, you're supposed to flip it over to trace it, and I forgot about that. So yeah, but you're gonna have two identical pieces like this. You're gonna have the back piece, which I ran out of cardboard that was big enough, so I had to make a piece by gluing this and this to that. So I had to make a piece. Then you should have two of these, which is going to be this part and this part of your phone. Then you should have your headpiece that you're going to stick your head inside of. You want this thing to be not too big, but just a bit bigger than you expect it to be, so that you can easily, not without bending it, but you can easily do this. If you happen to make it a little too big, which I kind of think that I did that to mine, that's fine, because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to be later on making a strap for this with just some simple elastic band and hot glue. So if it becomes a little too big, too wide, yada yada yada, you can fix it by adding an elastic band. So it'll be fine. So you're probably thinking, well, where's top piece? I didn't make that yet because I don't know how big I need it to be. So I'm kind of going to be doing something wrong, and I'm going to make that piece by simply gluing cardboard onto it and then shaving it down later. But that's okay, because after all this, we're going to end up covering this in paper mache. This is what I got so far. So, yeah, that's what I got so far. I like it. Something I thought about, though, is it also looks like TV head. I don't know what that is called, but it's the ones where the girls or the guys are humanoids or just humans, and they have TV for heads. This also looks like that. So if you can't or don't want to buy a real TV to gut it out, you can make it from cardboard. Do the exact same steps you did, except instead of this side, you're gonna see from this side. So yeah. Now I have to make the top right here, and then I'll stop for the day because everything's been one day. I think I'll stop for the day, and I'll think about the phone part itself and the rotary part and everything, and how I'm going to attach a certain item to it. But yeah. Oh, also, if you have gaps like this, I don't know if you can see, gap there, you can just glue some more cardboard from the inside onto it. It'll cover it up. You're gonna cover this in paper mache anyway, so I mean, it's fine. But I'm back to the problem I originally had. I don't have enough cardboard. Have to figure that out. I don't have enough cardboard. I might have enough so that I can just make another sheet like I did for the back of it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that one out. However, all you're gonna do is you're just gonna measure this, measure this. I'm about to trim off a little bit right here. It's a little too much. We're just gonna measure right here, and it should be 13 inches. And you're just going to glue it right there. Ta-da! This is what it looks like so far. Ow.
I don't know how muffled I am in that thing. Anyway, so this is what it looks like so far. Next up, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making the rotary dial and the phone itself. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, how do you see out of that thing? You don't. But I've seen a few people make phone guy heads, and they do make eye holes. Excuse me. And how they do that is when they do the rotary dial, they cut out a hole that's just like a little smaller than however big they're going to make the dial itself, and they glue the dial on. And then the finger holes of the dial, they keep cut out, and they kind of glue like some translucent fabric behind it to give it the illusion of it's covered, but they can see out of it. Even though their vision is limited, they can see out of it. I don't think I'm going to do that, but because I don't think I'm going to walk around when I wear this to a con. I don't think I'm going to walk around wearing it. I'll just like walk around like carrying it like this, and people will be like, oh, can I take a picture? Absolutely. That, or maybe I can, no, it's the phone. I might make eye holes for this. I don't know yet. Anyway. But yeah. Something that I've noticed that this is reminding me of a lot is my Predator helmet that I wore to Comic-Con this year. My Predator helmet is made out of cardboard. And so the inside of this thing, wearing it, putting it on, just brings me back to when I made my Predator helmet a few years ago. But yeah, so next up we're going to make the phone and the dial. And then once those are made, then we're going to cover everything in paper mache because paint's not going to stick to that or that. But and to just smoothen out all the edges and stuff, and to cover this to make everything rounder. So yes, let's continue. So remember how I said that I didn't want to make this too big? Yeah, I made it too big. Well, not exactly. I made it too tall. It is too tall. So, I realized this a little too late, clearly. And I realized it was too tall because I did what I just did, and I went to reach up to touch the top of this. I can barely reach it. And with the phone part that we're gonna attach, that's gonna give it an extra bit of height that I'm still not gonna be able to grab. So we're gonna fix this. So this is 14 inches high. It's too tall. So what I'm thinking of doing is putting it back to 12 inches. 12 inches should be enough. That it's tall enough, but that it would still, I could grab onto the phone up top if I needed to. So, at the beginning of this video, as you saw, and I'm going to remember to do this, I put something on screen that was like, this is all the parts that you need and what they're going to look like. And I clearly posted the correct measurements on those things. So, don't be like me and realize halfway through I made the thing too big, too tall, etc., etc. But I'm a cosplayer. I'm flawed. Big deal. Cosplayers can get towards halfway done with the cosplay before realizing that's not working, or okay, I just realized I messed up on this, or now that I look at this, I should not have made it this size. I'm a cosplayer. I'm flawed. We all are. Even professional cosplayers make mistakes in their cosplays.
So yeah, we're going to start and draw a line all the way around this and cut it, make it shorter. But Lulu, it's hot glued. How are you gonna do that? Carefully. You're gonna take your box cutter or X-Acto knife, whichever you use, and you're going to cut after you make your line. And clearly, I'm gonna show you that now. Much better. Much better. Much shorter, much better. Now because I shortened this, I would like for this to be a bit shorter in the front. However, to do that, that means I'd have to cut this at a more slanted part, and I don't want to do that. So it's a little bigger in the front than it should be now since I shortened it, but okay. So now that I did all of that, it's time to make the rotary dial. Couldn't think of the name. So genuinely, you're going to want to make it about in the middle. So here. And don't make it too big. You're just going to need to make it big enough to make it look like it should be there, basically. Like, you don't want to make it too big, like as big as this, because then it's just going to take up the entire space. And again, if I did this lower, I would be able to put it at a better spot. So I don't really have too much right here, but generally in the middle is where you're going to want to put it. I think I might make eye holes. I think I might make some eye holes.
now it's starting to look like Phone Guy.
There's a close-up. Ah, it's starting to finally look like him. Yes! So what we're going to do next is we're going to make the phone part, or the talking part. Again, more cardboard, because this whole thing is basically going to be built from cardboard. Also, if you hear thunder in the background, I apologize, it's raining. I'm going to try to edit out any background noises I can. So, you're going to take your base because you need this measurement, duh. However long or however wide it is, you're going to take that and you're going to add a few inches. So because mine is 13 inches wide, I'm thinking of adding making it 16 inches wide. If that happens to be too wide, I can always cut it down just a hair. I'm not going to know for sure until I cut the cardboard to length. So once you get that, if you haven't already, if you're not using a box like I did, do this. You're going to cut some strips like this. Doesn't really matter how thick they are, so long as they're not too thin. But if you get thin pieces and that's all you can get, that's all you can get. They'll add more to it. So you're going to get some strips like this, and don't try to cut them too short because you're not going to know how short you're going to need. There goes the rain. You're not going to know how short you're going to need it to be. This is clearly not 16 inches. I know this. So I'm going to cut this down to the length that I need it, because after that we're going to start to roll it together. I need it to be a little thicker than that. But go ahead and cut your cardboard to however long you speculated it to be. Again, I'm doing 16 inches. If I think I need to cut it down a little more to about 15 and a half, which is what I originally settled on, but I thought 16 to be safe, then so be it. So, once you've got all your pieces cut, you're going to slowly roll it, which might sound easier said than done, depending on the thickness or the width of it. The best thing is to make sure the lines in the cardboard are all going down. That's your best bet to kind of help you bend these things a bit better. You can also use them against a cup or something that has like a rounded surface to it. That will help you more easily round the thing. But if not, just continue to play with it and knead it like it's dough until you're able to do this. And when you let go, it forms a half circle, like celery. So go ahead and do this to all your pieces. Now, we're faced with a little problem. You can squeeze it. So, not a problem. If you have some cardboard, this is just a hair too thin. How wide is this thing? Three inches. This thing is 3 inches wide. So, I'm going to cut some cardboard that is same length, but it's not going to be as wide. It's going to be 3 inches wide, maybe like a hair smaller, hair bigger. And what we're going to do is we're going to insert it inside of the cardboard, and it's going to, this is a bad piece, and it's going to kind of act like a bone, basically. Alright, so I got one side done, and we'll do this side together. Now, I don't like how thick this is, so I would recommend doing this with like cereal box cardboard, which is a lot thinner. But, oh well. Big deal. So, this is just what it looks. It kind of looks like a pipe, too. I just noticed that. It looks like a pipe. So, Alright, so I also did shorten this. This went from 16 inches to 14 and a half inches. Because when I glued this on, I realized how much more inches it gave it. So I was like, you know what, let me just drop that down a bit. So I went to 14 and a half inches, which, excuse me, I think was my original. Or was it 15? 15 and a half was my original. So yeah. So the length of this part is 3 inches tall. It is the same width, which is this, which is 10 inches? Or a little over 10 inches? 10 and a half inches wide around. So yeah, it is the same diameter. This is the same diameter as this, but this is just 3 inches tall. And then this little detail is 1 inch tall. it fits. Size-wise, it fits. Yeah, I think it's pretty damn good. So, now for the final little detail before we can start to Mod Podge and paint everything. However, this next step is completely optional. You don't have to do this. So, on a lot of old phones, I noticed that they kind of had a little, I don't know what to call it. I'm gonna call it like a divot that this would sit on. So instead of it sitting flat like this, it would be raised about, I guess, this far, and it would be curved, and that's where the phone would sit. So I'm gonna make that. However, again, this is optional because whenever I was doing research to try to figure out the shape of them, I did notice that some rotary phones and some old-timey phones just sat like this. They didn't have the little thing that raised it about this high off. They just had it like this. So this part is just optional. You don't have to make this part. I'm going to because I want to, but this is optional. You don't have to do it. Not counting the first two I made before I started to videotape, I spent 28 minutes or just over 28 minutes cutting these out. Not including the first two I made, but all the rest. Altogether, I have 18 of these. Will I need all 18? I doubt that a lot. I highly doubt that. However, it's better to have more than what you're going to need than to have one less than you're going to end up needing. I don't know how many of these I'm going to need, but I have 18, and so I'm confident with the fact that I'm pretty confident I have enough. My hands are killing me. I'm going to go have some lunch, stretch my legs, rest my hands, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to glue all these. Oh my god, does my hand hurt? Do my hands hurt so bad?
So if you're like me and Mod Podge absolutely hates you, whenever you have a crevice or a crack, the Mod Podge will settle, and this white part that's not a shine, that is Mod Podge that has dried, big spot right there, that has dried in a pocket, and it like pulled together and it just dried like that. An easy way to fix that is you're going to take just a fine tipped tool like so. You're just going to go over any parts that you see that are white because of the Mod Podge. And then what you're going to do is after that, once it dries, you're going to take this same tool again, or maybe a different fine tool, and you're going to go over again with Mod Podge. And here is the final result. So as you saw, this is hot glued onto here. If you can get it into the light, there we go. Everything's red on red, so. But to cover up the hot glue when it dried, and it dried white, I just painted it with the same shade of red, and then I Mod Podged that, and there you go. And it stretches pretty well. I'm not going to stand here and pull it as far as I was originally doing this to stretch it out, but here it is. Your very own phone guy head. And this is the bottom where your head's going to go through. Now, something I did find out while doing this is because all this is Mod Podge will stick to itself sometimes. So, like after it's dried. So what I ended up doing was where it was resting here and here and here and here, I just repainted that with just the paint. So that way it wouldn't be Mod Podge on Mod Podge, and that helped because every time I would take the phone off, it would be stuck and I would have to kind of pull it off and it would rip. But this is it. And there you go. That's how you make your own phone guy or phone dude cosplay head. Phone dude is just, I think he's either blue or purple. He's one of those colors. Just follow the same tutorial, but paint him blue. Or who knows, if you have your own phone guy OC from FNAF, make this and paint it the color of your OC head. But yeah, I hope you all found this helpful. If any of you wanted to make a phone guy cosplay. Something that I did want to do, but it didn't end up doing, was I was going to put magnets here and on the bottom right here of this to keep it there. But unfortunately, the magnets didn't work. I glued them both on to either side, and then after that, it just, I don't know why. It magnetized to itself, but I guess they weren't as strong as I thought they were going to be because it kept sliding. Versus, it's a little hard to slide this one around. These just kept sliding. Now, I found these on Amazon. If I can find them again, I will link them down below. If you don't see a link, it's because I couldn't find them again. I had to search for 3 days for these things. But what I did end up looking up was red coil for this thing. And what I ended up getting was plastic wristband wrist key holder, bright red. That's what I looked up. That's what these are, because they do have keychains on them. They're keychains basically. But yeah, I wanted to find a longer one so that it hung down like an actual phone cord. But, oh well, who cares? You get what you can get. But I hope this was helpful. And yeah, stick around, keep an eye out for more cosplay tutorials I will post in the future. And if you like this video, consider liking and subscribing. Bye!